went out with a pail of water in case some of them was thirsty. I would give to them, and then I saw my grandmother's uncles, brothers, and sisters sitting on a carriage, and I could only wave to them, and it was so sad. When they made us sitting in the train, and we stopped in a big city called Sátoralja Újhely, and that was our ghetto. We stayed there for a month. It was nothing too much to do. My grandfather was a sick elderly man. They put him into the Jewish hospital. My sister and I would go there every single day to help him and many others, the elderly. And then they started to empty out the ghetto. That was early May, the beginning of May. And we had to again walk to the railroad station. And we saw these cattle cars. And we were pushed into that. So many people, you can imagine, in one car. We could hardly sit down on the floor. It was dark in there. It was a little window way up on the top, but it was a shutter on it. You couldn't see nothing where you were. They locked us in with a pail of water, and they never opened the door again. The train was going for days. One day it stopped, and they didn't open the door because it was midnight and it was dark. They had to wait till the morning. The morning came and the door opened up. We see SS men, and we see men with striped uniform, but we didn't have an ID where we were. And then we find out later those men were also prisoners in Auschwitz-Birkenau. We had to jump off from the cattle car. Then the men in one line, the women in the other line. I couldn't even say goodbye to my father or brother. It went so fast. The SS man was hollering, schnell, schnell, hurry, hurry, fast, fast. And the selection came. Mengele, if you kids learned about the Holocaust, you must have heard about Dr. Mengele. He was a very, very vicious man. And mostly the young people were going to the right. The elderly and mothers with the children went to the left. And they told us we're going to see them Sunday. But that Sunday never came. We were this was a Friday morning. And then they took us into the sauna. They took our clothes away. We were naked. They cut our hair. We looked unrecognizable. I was next to my sister. I couldn't recognize her. I hollered her name. She did the same. And then they give us a dress. If it fits you, good. If it's not, you had to wear it. In a couple of days, I got a number tattooed on my arm, A6145. And I lost my name. We were only numbered after that. But one good thing was about it, that we were gonna go to work. My sister, I had an older sister with me. When I got separated from my mother and I saw her standing there, I wanted to go with her. And I just ran to her. And this SS man saw me, and he came after me, and he pushed me back to the right side. I had no idea why I couldn't go with my mother. But I thought I'm going to try it one more time eventually. He's not going to look, and I did. He looked, and he saw me, and he came after me, and he was angry, and he pushed me back, and he called me stupid little Jewish girl. Stay there on the right. After that, my sister pushed me behind her, and that's where I had to be all the time. I believe that he was not a real SS man, because a real SS man would not do that. What would he care if I would go with my mother and I would be dead also? After a couple of days, we got our prison dress, and that was a gray dress with a short sleeve and our number on it. Our job was not walking, but marching like soldiers to our work. Our job was near the crematorium. When the transport were coming in, and what they bought with them, they put them into the big warehouse, and we had to go into that room and take everything apart. We even had to rip the coat lining to see if we find something in it, what we did. We find money, we find jewelry. You have no idea what people did and they bought with them. And everything had one different place to put. The SS man was there all the time to watch us. We couldn't take anything, but we didn't need nothing. We couldn't do with it, except if we find some food, we would eat it. Because we were so hungry all the time. The food was so terrible there, you could hardly swallow it. For morning, we would get black coffee, you could hardly even smell it, and a dark black bread. That was our breakfast. Supper time, we got a soup, a thick, heavy soup, what was black. They put medication in our food. One of the girls was working in the kitchen, and she told us that they did that. Maybe they calmed us a little bit, because what we saw there every single day, with real mind, you wouldn't be able dig ditches, and I have no idea for what. And that was our job to do. We were working there, and then we heard the big explosive. We had no idea what it was. Right away, the siren blow, everybody had to go into the camp. And you know, the 20 people who worked in the crematorium, they only worked there for 2 months. And after that, they killed them also. And their time came. They wanted to do something before they died. It was 3 women who got some explosive for over them, and they blowed up one of the crematorium. All the prisoners had to stay in line in Salapil. They find the 3 women and they hang them right in front of us. They wanted to show us what happens if you do something like that. That was very, very, very sad to see. End of November, they were emptying out Auschwitz-Birkenau. Middle of the night, the SS men came in and told us they are looking for people to go to work. Of course, we volunteered. We wanted to go away from there. And they were getting us ready the next day. It took us the whole day. I had an aunt with me also who was my father's sister. She came from Czechoslovakia because they took her husband away, and she wanted to stay with us with her son. The last selection from Auschwitz-Birkenau, this is such a shameful even to say, naked, in front of the SS, 2 lines of SS men. And on the top was Mengele. And he took her away from us because she had a little rash on her stomach. And we never saw her again. I forgot to tell you this. When we were working, dig ditches, and we got half an hour to rest, and I hurried back to my job so I be on time. So I thought I'm gonna go through the grass. But I didn't know this SS man was watching me from the window, and he came out and he calls me back. Why did I step on the grass? I explained as good as I could. I just wanted to be on time. He took out his rubber stick and he started to hit my back. And I was not going to stand there. I started to run, and he was running after me and hitting me. And you have no idea how painful that was. But I outrun him. When I got to my job, I couldn't open up my mouth. The pain was so bad. So I thought to myself, I never ever gonna step on a grass. When we were leaving Auschwitz-Birkenau, we were locked up in the cattle car again. We arrived in a place called Belgium, and that was not a working camp. It was another dead camp. Dead bodies was like mountains. The typhus broke out there. It was nothing to do there. If you don't work, you don't get food to eat. One day they said they need girls to go to work. We wanted to go away from there. We were selected to go away the next day. And we were so tired, I must have fallen asleep right away. And I know I always was sleeping next to my sister. And I had a dream. I never dreamed over there in the camp before. But my mother came to me and called me by my Jewish name, by Esther. Wake up. You your sister is sick. I jump up, my sister is not next to me. She's on the floor. She wanted to go to the latrine, but she couldn't make it. She was fainting every minute. I was so scared that they're going to take her away from me. Next day, we had to stay in line, and so we find something for her to sit down till we were counted. She could get up. We arrived again to a place called Braunschweig. That was not a camp. That was a bomb city. They want us to clean up the city. It was winter time. We were not dressed for the winter. It was so cold over there. Our home was a stable with concrete floor and hay on it. And the first night we slept there. The next day everyone woke up with full of lice, what we couldn't get rid of till we got freed. Again, every time the Allies were coming, they were taking us away. Another place to go called Bendorf, that was a camp. We were running. We were going to work. We stopped by a mountains. What are we gonna do here, we thought ourselves. A big door opens up, and it was a big room in there. And we go into that room, and a fake elevator is in there. The SS men didn't come with us. They made us go into the elevator, and that took us down and down. I have no idea how far we were. Then the door opened up. It was a salt mine. They told us, we go ahead. It was a narrow tunnel, and we were walking in the very dim light. The other side, they were waiting for us. And they took us into a factory. You never saw anything like it. It was a Munizio factory where they made guns, bullets, and it was German people working there. And they the one who showed us what we're supposed to do. We did this for a while. It was very, very hard to walk in a salt mine because you breathe in the salt and you get swollen up. I lost my future sister-in-law over there. She just didn't walk up one day. This was Bendorf. In the hurry we had to get into the cattle car. The Allies were coming again. We stopped 2 more camps to pick up more survivors. And we were locked up. And it was no more place to go. The train was going for days, for weeks. They never opened the door. We never get any food. One day it stopped, and that was a forest. It called the Buchenwald Forest. They opened the door. Many of the girls were dead. And they made us go out, and 5 in a row. And the machine gun was all around us with the German shepherd dog. And they make us lay down on the ground, and we were going to be killed. But the airplanes were so low over our head. The sky was black from the airplanes. And then we saw the SS men leaving with their dog. And we had no idea what's happening. Finally, we were all alone. what to do. But it didn't last too long. Truckloads of soldiers came with the international soldiers who liberated us. And they came to us and told us that the war was over, and that was May 2nd, 1945. You could imagine how we felt without family, what we gonna do. Our first meal was, we were so hungry, we were skin and bone. They gave us a good little piece, not too big of a piece of bread, a little sugar and a little water to our empty stomach. And that felt so good. They couldn't give us a big meal because everybody would die, because our stomach shrunk so much. After that, they cleaned out the cattle cars. We had to go into the railroad station. They put us into the regular station, and then they took us to Denmark. We only stayed there for 2 days, and then they